Hey, welcome to It's All Relative. All right, let's just go ahead and get into it. I was coming downstairs to record something else, and I walk into my daughter's room to ask her a question, and Baddies was on. Baby, listen, I think I'm traumatized. I'm so overstimulated from all the things that were going on. It was so much. And there was a part of me was like, you know what? I want to talk to the little youngins, my little niecey poos out here in the world. And maybe I could do that by watching Baddies and doing a review. Oh my, I know I can't do that. I know I can't do it. There was just so much fighting and yelling, and what is going on? Wigs were flying, asses out, titties out, just and then running up on people and hitting them and doing no. Why does this show exist? I why does this show exist? So much. So I remember Bad Girls Club. I think there was Tanisha. I never watched it, but I remember it. And I remember she came through banging plates or pots or something. And so my daughter's narrating for me this show and Taziki and Tatsuki and this one and that one. And I'm like, mouth agape. Like, what's happening? And apparently, some of the girls are from Jocelyn's cabaret. Excuse me. And so I know that I know that my kids watch it, or that my daughter and her friends watch it. And I'm thinking they make, reasonable, sensible decisions about life. So they're good. Is this really how young girls think that conflict is resolved or handled? And I think it might be. And I was going to do a video about Love and Hip Hop Miami. And I'm gonna mess all these people's names up. But there's Zoe. Zoe was fighting with Ching. And Claudia Jordan tried to have some retreat. Y'all, Love and Hip Hop producers, call me. I could really do some conflict resolution in there, some conflict coaching. I could really do that. So Zoe gets into it with, I guess her name is Sonia, and she hits Sonia, and then Sonia calls the police. And I am with Sonia. Hey, don't put your hands on me. You want to do a verbal tete-a-tete, much like Housewives. Apparently, Angela is the reader of all readers. You want to read me for filth and you want to trade quips back and forth. And let me tell you something, I'm no reader. I ain't got that. That just isn't my brain. It takes me a long time to process. So I'm not quick. But you want to go word for word? Yes, great, awesome. But don't put your hands on me. I do not play that. And if you put your hands on me, then yes, I am calling the cops. So you call me whatever you want, cop, caller, scaredy cat, whatever. When you have a lot to lose, you don't play around. When you have licenses that you have worked hard for, I'm not finna let nobody and their words get me out of character to put my hands and do the pow pows. But it seemed as though Zoe was stunned that Sonia would call the cops. And again, I'm all for let's talk about what happens in the Black community. Let's make it better. Let's do right. And I understand institutionalized racism, systematic racism. I understand all of that. But there comes a time when there are conversations that we must have within our community that don't have nothing to do with institutionalized racism. And acting a plum fool, that is not institutionalized racism. It's not. It is about socioeconomics. I do believe that. It's about socioeconomics, but also, you know, we come from a people that we had to have some act right. And we were not allowed to go outside a certain way. We knew that we had to be twice as good. We had to be presentable. we had to carry ourselves with some decorum. And we are just at a place where that is not the case, that we don't have to have decorum. We like to, and listen, I love to cuss, and so that's not what I'm saying. It seems like for no reason though. Zoe putting hands on Sonia because she didn't like what she had to say is a problem. To be shocked and appalled and then clutch your imaginary pearls when you assault someone and they go unacceptable, and now I'm going to call someone to assist in this situation, that doesn't mean that you are fearful. And also, can we cut this out? It's no badge of honor to not be fearful. You are supposed to be afraid. That is something to protect you. You don't go running into a burning building because you might lose your life. Like, we're supposed to have this internal thing to keep ourselves alive. And so, no, I don't want to fight for the sake of fighting or because somebody disrespected me. When did that become the reason why we can assault one another? And then for everybody, oh, cop calling ass bitch. If you are in trouble, what are you supposed to do? Call the cops. I don't understand this. No snitching. Y'all cut this out. This is so problematic, and it's problematic to us. And I know, I'm gonna bring up Bill Cosby, and I know Bill Cosby did very horrible things, and he deserves to be under the jail. He is not under the jail, but he deserves to be under the jail because of the terrible things that he did. How and ever, the Black community, I remember the time when he said, your kids know the lyrics to rap songs before they know their ABCs. And he said, he talked about like, y'all buy Jordans and you don't have a stable place to live or something to that effect. He was not wrong. And yet we vilified him and we beat him up. Oh, he can't say that. And so on. No, he's right. When do we get to the place where we can say this is right? We let these children almost, I don't want to say they like shame us into having wisdom, right? Now, and they go, at your big old age. Yes, pray that you get to my big old age. In the way that these kids are acting out here in the streets, they are not going to make it to my big old age. This thing about not having respect for our elders is problematic. And in the Black community especially, that was the one place that we did have respect. You had to respect Big Mama and them. And it's interesting that we take these things, and we pick and choose what's important to us and what isn't important to us. And then we go, oh, shut up. No, somebody has got to lead the people, baby. And we are going to hell in a handbasket. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be able to make their money. Make your money, do your thing. And I don't even believe in this conversation, where we single out Black people and go, it's all because of you that, the Black community is a problem. Because it's not. That's not the case. It's not the way that it works. It's not just one single person. And I hate to be responsible for an entire group of people. Like my idea, I'm going to go left and I'm going to come back right. So like tipping. Baby, I'm only giving 10%. That's all y'all getting from me. Ain't nobody gonna make me feel bad. And this idea about, well, I got to tip because if not, they're gonna think that, Black people don't tip. They think that anyway. And so me tipping or not tipping is not going to make them think of Black people as a whole any better than they already do. So they could go to hell. And my reason for tipping and the amount of tip, because tip culture has gotten completely and totally out of control. I will tip for extraordinary service. We once went someplace and we had a great experience. And then when we went back weeks later, our waiter remembered my partner's wine order. I will tip for that exceptional service. That is, that's excellence. I'm not tipping when I go to pick up my food. You could go to hell. And when you're doing your job, and here's the problem, we try to make it as though it's about socioeconomics, and it's not about socioeconomics. It is on the corporation or the business to pay their staff an appropriate wage. And so they would, if people stopped coming to the restaurant, And then they would go, I wonder why people aren't coming. Maybe they'd have to pay more to get better servers, or and then that's on them, and that is how the business continues on. We have let the 1% try and convince us that we need to work for free. Baby, when I tell you I'm not checking out, I'm not going to the self checkout. I'm going to stand in this line and I'm going to wait for you to do it. I'm going to wait for you to bag my groceries. You want me to bag my own groceries? I got to come to the store. I got to do the shopping, and then I have to become the cashier and I have to pay you in order to do it. I'm not doing that. And I've been in the store where the self checkout line was longer than the line for the cashiers. And we talk about, well, what's going on with the children? Children need jobs and they need to be at the cashier. That's where they need to be. But now we've raised these kids that they're too good to do that. And we've let them convince us that that's what we should do because it's faster. Ciao. But anyway, I digress. I went left and I'm back right. Here we go. To my back right. We've got to do better. We have got to do better. And like I said, I'm not trying to get in the way of anybody getting their money. Get your money, I guess. But if we trace back the roots of the Zeus Network and Lemmy, his father apparently is a pro-Israel pastor. And so do with that what you will. But I don't see how it benefits. I just think that we should be having conversation like, this isn't right. This isn't real. And this isn't the real life. This isn't the way to handle your conflicts, is that you get to go bust somebody in the mouth. Excuse me. I saw this thing. My partner sends me these videos that someone makes, and they talk about, and it's not funny, but it's funny. They they narrate fights on like Carnival cruises or just anywhere amongst Black people, and they called them like baboons and things like that. And it's funny, but it's not funny. So it's not funny in that, man, this is terrible that someone is profiting off of critiquing Black culture. And yes, do white people do it? Yes. In the backwoods of Appalachia, if you guys aren't doing anything, let me tell you something. You need to watch The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. Baby, I could watch that every day. I am so intrigued and fascinated. So it's not to say that white people don't do it, because again, it's socioeconomics. It's not necessarily race, but I'm talking to Black people. You know why? Because I'm not concerned about what white people do. I'm concerned about what we do and seeing us flourish. And if we know that the criminal justice system is making money off of us, and if we know that it is predatory, if we know that we get harsher sentences, then why are we not having conversation to say, hey, cut that out and don't do that? Don't enter into the criminal justice system. Why are we not having that conversation? So a lot, but baby, oh my goodness. How many people are watching the Baddies? Are the young girls watching the Baddies? Are these, teenagers, are they watching the Baddies? Because if they're watching the Baddies, I hope we're having other conversation with them like, y'all, this isn't the real world and this isn't the way that you handle your conflict, because it's terrible. And I don't even know, do better. I get it, right? Socioeconomics makes us want to, do the things because, right, it's for money. And it's no different than the conversation that I had about Jay-Z, right? So if that's the case, Jay-Z is out here partnering with people that don't mean the Black community any good. And people say, well, you got to get your money. So again, we're back to, is that it? Is that all that we are? Is it that you just do whatever it is for money? Because I thought all money wasn't good money. And the other thing is what it perpetuates. So if you've got these women and these men that are profiting from behaving like wild animals, and it does, just wild animals is what it looks like. If they have children, because some of them have children, are they raising their children to then act like wild animals? When does it stop? When does that happen? When is fighting not then the answer to to settling conflict. When does that happen? Because it just perpetuates itself and it looks like it's getting worse and worse. I read an article where teachers were talking about how bad um, it is for children. And I hadn't thought about it because I don't have those young kids. But one teacher was saying, like, they asked someone for their opinion and they asked Chat GPT and then responded verbatim. They had no thought of their own. They just don't know. Little children that used to apparently be able to play for 20 minutes at a time now don't have that attention span. They only have the play with things for 3 and 5 minutes. These kids are afraid to talk to one another. They're afraid to talk to other people. Like, this really, we're not doing good. We have to stop, and we have to also be okay to say, this is not good, this is wrong, this is bad, we need to stop. Can we put an age limit? It was just so much. I don't know how they could even take all of that in. How can you follow it? And some of these women are in their late 30s and early 40s. Again, is it that we just do anything for money? Is that it? Is that all that we are? And I know that that's not it, right? I get that and I do understand that. But I guess, what's the balance? How do we balance it? And I'm just saying, I think that there should be some, I don't know, warning. There should be a follow-up discussion, like a Baddies, this is really just acting. This isn't real life. There should be like an advisory label. Kids don't do this in real life. Like the Jackass movies, it was the Jackass scenes on MTV. It was like, don't try this at home. That behavior does not work in real life. And I've seen it. A lot of people, they get outside and they start cussing and carrying on as though that's going to get them what they want. That's not. No business is going to do business. They're not going to allow you to be in their establishment with all that yelling and hollering. And you will enter into the criminal justice system when you're trying to fight people. And then we go, oh, but they lock us all up and they treat us so horribly. Don't go to jail. There's that. Don't enter into the criminal justice system. Don't sell the drugs. Don't do it. Like, honestly, I was listening, and it's not a critique, and I'm not saying Black people, you're bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, can we begin to have the conversation about how do we change it? I was listening to, I'm in my Lauryn Hill bag, and so I was listening to If I Ruled the World, and Nas is saying, if everybody sold the drugs, then who are we selling the drugs to, right? And we're not selling them outside of our community. We're selling them inside of our community. So that means it's affecting our households. And so it's the vicious cycle that we are seeing. And when does it stop? And again, back to the selling of the drugs. When you sell the drugs, you then enter into either, right, you go to jail, you could die, right? You could get killed. Or you end up, having to do a regular, you live a regular life, and there's nothing wrong with a regular life. But typically if you've gone to jail, then you've had time removed. And I'm not saying this is for everyone, because I work with the people in the criminal justice system. Some make it, but very seldomly do we see a Jay-Z that goes from selling drugs to being a billionaire. And also, while I was having that conversation about Jay-Z or even your fave rapper or whatever, it's just like the NBA, right? It's 1%. It's a very slim, minute group of people. So again, the net effect is still problematic to the community, because you had to sell the drugs to the people in your community. And that's problematic. And then you can't buy nothing, right? Now you got to get it put in somebody else's name, or when they come get you, they come and take it all. We've seen it, numerous times. They go do the time and then they come out with nothing. And they take away from their family that they must lean on. So they are, again, taking resources away from the Black family when we know that we are already struggling. So, and I'm not going to say like, oh, it's just Baddies, because there are the other, things that the other shows and whatnot, right? Like the power of it all. And 50 Cent is over there tap dancing for Donald Trump, which I'm no 50 Cent fan. I don't like bullies. And I have 50 Cent came in as a bully and I just don't like bullies. So I've never really supported him. Happy black man, do your thing, get your money. And, he's made a great deal of money, but let's look at what he's made his money on. And it's hard then, and I get it, right? Because these are our heroes in the community and what they've done. He's employed a lot of people, and that's wonderful. So on the one hand, it's really great, but it perpetuates something negative. And I guess I have to ask, what's the effect? Because if we continue to highlight what it means to be a drug dealer, not necessarily going to college, entering into the game, and that whole bit, are some kids, aspiring to do that and be that? And is that harmful to our community? And so, yeah, right. Like it's back to, I guess, sometimes they go, oh, we're going to, limit then the video games. As we say, video games are harmful to children, the Call of Duty and the shooting and the killing. And it is, and I don't know and I have not done my research. So I'm just here having a conversation to say what really, how it affects us. I don't know. I haven't studied or followed it. I'm sure we could. I don't care to. I just want to have conversation. Yes? Yep. All right. Gotta go. Talk to you later. Bye.